Marc and Ellen. It's amazing to have you here. I'm honored. I would love to let everybody know a bit what up till now I know about your backgrounds, but of course you'll be sharing more about that this evening with us. As far as I know, you are the founders of YouRevolution, if I pronounce that right. You've launched a YouTube channel pretty recently, or well, not even that long ago, I think 1 year ago, and it goes really beautifully and it goes really well, as I believe you have a lot of followers since then. But most of all, what you're actually doing is sharing your knowledge and that of others about alternative health, well-being in all sorts of ways, and yeah, self-growth in the broad sense of that. And I believe that as founders, both of you have a mesmerizing healing story yourselves, but you've also had the honor to help others on their journeys, as you are both coaches, as far as I know. And since you've started this movement, or well, founding YouRevolution, it has become a movement, and you now help people to take their, their health, their self-development serious, but also to the next level. And yeah, I'm curious about both of your stories, and what I think is beautiful to say for everybody here is that you both have your full-time jobs, and even Ellen, I believe you have 3 kids as well, a family to raise next to that, and then you do this, on top of that, and following that soul's, or as I'm not sure if it's your soul's purpose, but at least it's a beautiful life's purpose. Yeah, that I think is so, yeah, I think it's beautiful. It's amazing, and I'm grateful to have you here. Did I miss out on anything? Maybe.
That was far more impressive than the introduction that Marc and myself could have given to the audience. So thank you so much.
Thanks. Happy to hear that. Is there anything that you'd like to start with, or if I left out on anything that you'd like to kind of...
The most important thing to probably say is that Marc and I's journey began 30 years ago. So we've been friends for such a long time, and growing up, Marc's bedroom window looked onto my bedroom window, so it's almost like we've been childhood sweethearts together. And we've both shared a parallel journey, which is quite unique for a friendship to have lasted such a long time, and to have shared many of the ups and the downs of life together. We often joke, but sometimes, usually when Marc's up, I'm down. Usually when Marc's down, I'm up, and we kind of support each other back to equilibrium. And it's always been that way as a friendship. And then obviously we've taken this bold step to begin this movement, this YouRevolution journey, which began as content and sharing wisdom and knowledge, and it is beginning to blossom into something much bigger than that, really helping people take their lives to the next level, whatever that means to them, through various techniques and practices and support methodologies. And it's just really exciting. It's been the making of both of us in many respects.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. It makes the story even more personal. The fact that you've been friends for so long, that's also really unique. So thanks for sharing that as well. And did you want to share anything, Marc?
Yeah, I think I would just expand upon it and say that it's definitely been like a parallel journey where we've faced a lot of the same challenges. Like, it's been really weird how it's happened. Now, I mentioned to you before we started, we love the Netherlands, we love your country, and we know that a lot of people love Scotland as well because there's a lot of beautiful scenery and so on. But what a lot of people don't know is that Scotland's got a lot of problems, a lot of people struggling, get one of the worst addiction rates in the whole of the world, depression rates, suicide was the worst in the past 10 years. I don't mean to be really depressing, but what I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of challenges for people, and myself and Alan came across a lot of challenges, excuse me, mentally, physically and emotionally over the past decade or so. Very similar challenges, and mainstream medicine, going to the doctor, going to what's out there, they didn't have the answers. So we had to find the answers ourselves to some serious stuff when life really went like this. So it's been a long journey of overcoming mental, physical, emotional issues, and we have discovered quite a lot of unique alternative health practices that have been they've transformed our lives. I mean, they've completely transformed us as people. They've helped us discover who we really are, and we believe that the whole journey is to get us on this path to share this information with the other people in Scotland who are struggling.
Wow. Thank you. That's a beautiful and really strong way to start with this mission, but also with the message that you have to share. I think so many people need to hear this, and I think it's beautiful that you found this path. And even though it's a pretty, well, speaking from experience, it can be really tough to be looking for answers and not finding them in the places when you think you can answer or find these answers. So I think it's super courageous that you both are on this path, and that you are willing to share it openly and have as many people know about this as well. So I'm grateful for you doing that and being here and fighting this with everybody that dares to walk this path. When it comes to today's topic and your message around this, you just shared already a little bit, Marc, about your message really and where it comes from. But maybe could you help us, take us along on both of your journeys a bit on what today's topic means to you, and where did you start on your journey, or what beliefs and habits that you used to have before getting to know these worlds?
What's interesting is that when you have to do something like this, you have to find a way to keep it practical, because there is literally so much to cover, so much to talk about. And what we've tried to do is distill it down into the 3 practices that you can implement that will take your life to the next level. There are many, many other practices, many amazing different tools and techniques and health and healing modalities out there. But Marc and I, just for the purpose of this, decided that we would pick 3, a few of which we've not talked about very openly, and through which we will talk about our own journeys over each of these sections. So we cover off 3 healing modalities which cover the physical, the mental and the emotional, all of which are hugely important to an integrative approach to your health and self-development. And through the discussion about these modalities, about what they are, why they're beneficial, Marc and I will talk a little bit about our own experiences. The subject for today, to cover off the physical, is about the medical medium protocols. We're then going to focus on the emotional, which is all about plant medicines, and then we're going to focus on the mental, which is all about mind, nutrition and the importance of that. And it will be a double act, like it always is with Marc and I. We'll dive in, we'll add a little bit and pepper each different modality with our own insights as we go. So it's going to be very intuitive. For those of you who are outside Scotland, we'll do our absolute best to keep the accent slow and to chat in the most reasonable way possible without talking too quickly. So.
You just shared a bit of these 3 things that you'd like to share today. But when it comes to these 3 things, I would love to kind of know, before you dove into those 3, why did you get to discover them?
Yeah, there's always a backstory that leads you to these places to try and solve your problems. And what I would say is that for myself personally, my story was up until the age of 28, life was good. I had the great job, I was in good relationships, I had a bought house, nice car, everything seemed fine. And then suddenly, I come back from my friend's wedding, and one day my digestive system just completely stopped working. And this made no sense because I was a young guy, I went to the gym regularly, I never smoked, I didn't drink alcohol, I looked after my body, so it made no sense. So I went to the doctor, hoping that he would give me tablets that would fix it. 2 weeks later, everything would be fine and I could get back to my life. And when I told the doctor what was wrong with me, he said, you've got IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And he says, you'll have to take these tablets. And I said to him, how long for? And he said, the rest of your life. And when he said that it rang so many alarm bells, and it was really disturbing because I was a 28-year-old man and I did not want to have to take medication for the rest of my life. So I decided there and then that I would go on a holistic healing journey to find out what was wrong with my body, because the doctor couldn't give me an answer. This could be a really, really long story, but I'm just going to cut it short. Essentially, I spent maybe 5 or 6 years trying every diet there was, spending thousands and thousands of pounds on all sorts of specialists, private care, different treatments to get my body working again. And I got some relief, but it was only until maybe about 4 years ago where I found the root cause of what was going on within my body. And I was listening to a podcast by a guy called Dr. Marc McLean, really respected doctor, international best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, and he was speaking about the toxic heavy metals that get into our body and they cause havoc with our health. And he was basically saying that this is an epidemic that people just don't know about. And he was speaking specifically about the metal fillings you have in your mouth being one of the main problems. And I don't know what it was, but something just clicked with me, and I ran upstairs, looked in the mirror, and I remember I had 5 huge metal fillings, and I had them for over 20 years. And I just knew that was the problem. So from there I did a lot of research about this, and basically mercury can get into our bodies through various means. We basically live in a very toxic world with various heavy metals: mercury, cadmium, lead, nickel. It's in foods, it's in our water supply, it's just about everywhere. So it's very, very important that we detox our bodies and we get this stuff out. And if we don't, and it keeps continuing for as long as it did for me, it can have catastrophic consequences for your health. So from that time on, where I then had all sorts of tests, discovered my body was loaded with mercury, fortunately a bit further down the line I came across a guy called the Medical Medium. He's written a series of books. It's all about holistic health, natural healing, healing the body through natural detox methods, smoothies, celery juice, basically natural foods that nature's provided for us to heal. And in a matter of months of just following his protocols, I saw huge health benefits. I started getting energy back. My memory was much better because it was affecting my memory. Huge list of symptoms that I had got better quickly, and I just knew that physically this was the answer that I, not just myself, but many people around the world living in the toxic modern world that we have really need to learn about and benefit from. So when it comes to the physical side of things, that's a big part of our teachings here at YouRevolution. But we're also keen to educate people about mental health practices, and also something that's overlooked so often, and that's emotional issues. And that's probably something that Alan could speak about quite a lot. He's very knowledgeable in this kind of area.
Thank you so much for sharing this backstory. I believe I might have kind of interrupted your plan here a bit, but thanks so much, because I myself can relate, but I can also imagine that a lot of people can relate to walking into these troubles physically. And just to share openly, what resonates with me here is I came from, well, a journey myself where my organs collapsed and my hands and feet didn't work. My eyes just stopped working and I couldn't walk. So I came from a similar place of looking for answers, and found also the medical medium that has helped me live and walk. And so I'm really grateful for this connection only already on this area. And I totally agree with you. And I would love everyone listening today or some other day to find out what answers they can find in these books and protocols. So that's just a bit of reinforcing what you just shared. But maybe to dive now further in the emotional part and in your knowledge there, would you maybe want to share a bit on that, Ellen?
It's interesting when I reflect back over my life, because when I look back, I had a very happy childhood. I played a lot of football. I was young, gifted. I had a lot of positive reinforcement growing up from within the family, which was amazing to have, and from lots of adults outside myself. And of course, you would think that sounds absolutely wonderful, and it was. But when it comes to these types of situations, you see, when you come into this world, difficulties are almost programmed into the experience. There's no other way to look at it. And I was always an achiever. I always wanted to achieve. I wanted to achieve to be a footballer. That didn't quite work out, but I kind of knocked on the door. And then, when that didn't work, I needed something else to identify with. And a lot of the time as human beings, we need to feel we belong somewhere. We need to feel like we have a vehicle that can get us the love and connection that we need. And my vehicle for getting love and connection was achieving. So when I left school, I went to university. I'd done really well at university. I then got a job, and everything was always just about the next thing. The next thing, the next thing, the next relationship, the next job, the more money, the constant accumulation of things, which I think speaks to so many people, because that's the society we grow up in. We are educated that that's the way it should be. But the difference is, that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with accumulating, doing better, achieving. None of that stuff should be knocked. But it's your deeper reasons for doing so. And that's where my own emotional issues have often been the biggest challenge that I've had to overcome. Because what would happen is, it's almost like when you're trying to fix things at a mental level, so when you're doing a little bit of coaching and you're setting goals for yourself, it's almost like, unless you are in at the deeper emotional patterns that are driving your behaviours towards certain outcomes, it's almost like whack-a-mole. Do you remember the game where you knock one but then another one pops up somewhere else? Well, you fix something here mentally. You can have the mindset, I'm going to fix this and overcome this challenge, fix it, whack-a-mole. But then the behavioural pattern that's driving it, the emotional pattern, the deep-rooted emotional stuff, pushes and manifests an issue elsewhere. So you fix one thing, but it pops up somewhere else. So with time, amazingly, what begins to happen is you get into your 20s and 30s, you have enough life experience where you begin to realise that the same patterns are manifesting, the same outcomes are happening over and over again. And sooner or later, it's the suffering that changes how you want to live your life. Sooner or later, you decide, there's more to this than just these outcomes. You get sick of chasing the new jobs, you are disappointed when another relationship falls apart, and you're wondering why it's happened, and the common denominator in all of this is you. So for me, the big life-shifting experience I had was back in 2015, where I experienced ayahuasca, which we will talk about in more detail. And from that moment on, my life has never been the same ever again. And it's a journey. It's an absolute journey. But I am very much, I think, that emotional challenges, emotional health is the new frontier. The whole term of mental health is a bit of a red herring, because I think it almost rides roughshod over the deeper emotional issues, which I think are at the root of how we feel about the world and how we perceive, and the feelings we have and the way we think. Is that the emotional health is the frontier, it's the new frontier for us as a species. This is the time where we need to get good at feeling. We need to move away from trying to feel good, and we need to get good at feeling. And Mark and me will talk a little bit more about that quote as well as we go through this.
Well, you've now shared a bit of the backstories for both of you. Yeah, would you be ready to elaborate a bit on these three methods that you shared?
Absolutely. So I think we're going to kick off with the physical side of things. So Mark, I'll hand over to you to
Yeah, I suppose it's just going back to the medical medium protocols, where there's a big emphasis on detoxing our bodies on a regular basis, because we are bombarded with chemicals every day. They're in our foods, they're in our water. It's just part of this modern living 21st century world we're in, where the body's under attack almost by all these different toxins. And while people might think I'm being a bit dramatic here, they've not got health problems just now, but further down the line people will end up with all sorts of chronic health conditions these days if they don't detox the body. And you discovered that yourself, so did I. So what one main practice for looking after your physical health, and the number one practice coming from someone who researched everything and tried everything, the medical medium protocol of doing a morning cleanse before you begin eating your normal meals. And that morning cleanse is so simple. It consists of drinking lemon water in the morning, just the juice of half a lemon in water. Drink that. It's antibacterial, it's antiviral, it cleanses the digestive system. Thereafter, drinking celery juice, just juicing celery, drinking that. It's so good for the digestive system. It kills pathogens, bacteria, brings the body into balance, and has so many other benefits. I couldn't list them all just now. It really is a superfood. And then for people who want to go one step further, and maybe they've got chronic health conditions just now and they think they may be suffering from heavy metal toxicity like I was, through the mercury that was leaching into my body from the amalgam fillings, Medical Medium also has a heavy metals detox smoothie that you can make pretty easily at home. All of this is on his Instagram page, Medical Medium. It's on his website. The information is everywhere, and he's got lots of great books. So anyone struggling with your health, any type of chronic health condition, I would just direct them to the Medical Medium, and then to follow that morning cleanse protocol.
I think it's also important to mention as well, you might be suffering from chronic health conditions, or indeed you might feel relatively healthy, but this is also amazing for optimising your health. I'm going to give you a great example of somebody who's currently doing Medical Medium protocols, one of the fittest guys in the world, one of the most amazing athletes in the world, Novak Djokovic. You know, his record speaks for itself, but Novak Djokovic follows Medical Medium protocols, the protocol that Mark talked about, the morning cleanse, the lemon water, the celery juice and the smoothie. Novak Djokovic follows that. So if it's good enough for Novak Djokovic in terms of optimising his health, it's good enough for all of us, because we've got so used to being sick We done a video with a good friend of ours called Loch Lomond, and Rory talked so well about the fact that we've got used to being sick. We've accepted as human beings that we should be sick all the time chronically, and that's not how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be vibrant, we're supposed to be healthy, we're supposed to be balanced, and these teachings are about bringing us back to that, about helping us understand the goodness of food, the beauty that we can get by just Mother Nature, by the provision of fruit and vegetables. And it isn't about veganism or any of that stuff, you know. It's just about nutrition, that's all it is. It's not about not eating meat or any of that stuff. It's just about getting the right balanced diet to help you really optimise your health. And I think personally for me, I've not had chronic health conditions, like physical health conditions, but I do it because I want to optimise my health. I want to feel good, I want to feel vibrant, and it's a process. So, you know, we would encourage anybody out there to really think about adopting these protocols into their morning routine.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next thing that you were getting ready to share about, I believe, Ellen.
The next topic is something that Mark and I know very intimately. It's been life-changing for both of us, and it's plant medicine for emotional healing. So we live in a world where there is a war on feeling. There is a, you know, we've grown up and we've fragmented ourselves in order to find acceptance in the world, and we've lost in many ways the connection. So I speak from personal experience. We've lost the connection to feel into our experiences, and there is the most powerful transformational tool, which there will be some caveats to this, but the most powerful transformational tool that both Mark and I have experienced directly is ayahuasca. Which, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a psychedelic brew which is made in the Amazon jungle from two plants, from the Amazon, from the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna plant, or chacruna leaves, brewed together, and it creates a very potent brew. The caveats to this before we get into it are that we are not encouraging anybody out there to do plant medicine. It's definitely not for everybody. For anybody who was considering doing it, make sure that it's legal in the country that you do it, and also, most importantly, that you have the right support and that you know why you are going to do it. It's not the type of thing you do just because you're curious about it. It's a very, very powerful and highly disruptive medicine, a very beautiful medicine. Mark has actually written a book all about ayahuasca and about the healing stories of people from all around the world. But this tool and many other psychedelics which are now being proven, you know, from science, you know, from various studies about the powerful healing benefits that they have for our mental and physical and emotional health. And for me, I actually found ayahuasca. My brother died 7 years ago, very unexpectedly, and I really struggled with that. You know, like most people would, grief is a very powerful emotion, but I felt almost like a direct pull to the medicine. But the interesting thing is it wasn't as popular then, and nobody I knew had done it. So I went to another country, and I went and experienced it for the first time. And it was hugely powerful in helping me process the grief that I was holding in. And that was the first night, and then the second night was all about, which it often is, all about the emotional inner child, how the formation of my emotional boundaries was formed in childhood, and how those emotional boundaries how they had manifested all through my life, from being a very small boy sitting in my mum and my aunt's knees, you know, having all this positive reinforcement, to relationships that had broken down, to marriages that had broken down, all the way through just, you know, lessons about the power of feeling, and that's the key to it. It's to unlock the emotional body. And I said a quote earlier on, which was that in this world, that a lot of people want to feel good, and that's it, that's the limit of it. And that's the reason why plant medicines can feel so scary, because there's no control on whether you'll feel good or not. But the secret to all of this, the secret to being able to master your emotional body, to really have that emotional maturity, is to get good at feeling. And that means feeling all the emotions, feeling the entire spectrum which we all have, and not denying ourselves the ability that we have to feel sadness, or to feel the crushing loneliness that I'm sure we've all experienced when we felt we couldn't reach out to another human being as a child, or as an adolescent, or as an adult, where you have something going on inside and you don't want to feel it. And so we often sedate ourselves with alcohol, drugs, online shopping, gambling, sex, all distractions for how we're truly feeling. But the truth of the matter is that, for me, most of the things that people would have said that I would have had a mental health issue about, actually it wasn't mental health, it was emotional health. People don't know this, but they don't know it because we're living in a society where there genuinely is a war against feeling. And these plant medicines will crack you open in a way that you cannot do with conventional tools. And it's done because it's about you, and that's what YouRevolution's about. It's a human-centric approach. You have the wisdom inside. The wisdom doesn't come from outside here. It doesn't come from a guru. It comes from inside of you. You are taught the lessons you need to heal yourself, to be whole again, to love yourself, to be kind to yourself. And Mark can maybe pitch in and talk about some of this too. But these tools are hugely powerful and should not be ignored any longer. And we need to destigmatise the use of these medicines. Like I said, responsible usage, but we need to destigmatise this, because many people are using plant medicines. Billionaires, CEOs of top companies, they are not just doing it for their health, they're doing it for their creativity. They are using these medicines in amazing ways to contribute positively to the world, and that's what these medicines are about. They are about humanity plus. They are about helping you contribute positively to this world, both individually and collectively. There is so much more I could say on this, but if you are looking for a tool to help you master your emotions, which is the foundation of being an amazing entrepreneur, being an amazing dad, being an amazing husband or wife or partner, that is absolutely crucial. It's the number one thing I would encourage any person to take control of, to take full accountability for your emotions. But you need to know where to begin. These medicines will help you on that path.
Yeah. What I would say is that what Alan and I both found is that what seems to be the most catastrophic events in your life, when you really hit the lowest point in your life, these are actually blessings. These are points where it shows you to look within and find out what's really driving these behaviours and the problems that are leading you to end up feeling like this and getting in an emergency crisis state. And for me, it happened with Alan when his brother died, and he had carried a lot of grief and guilt. And for me, 1 or 2 years later, I just had a complete life collapse where another relationship ended. I was in a job I hated. My health was in bits, as I explained earlier. I was back at home living with my mum when I was in my early 30s. Everything was just going wrong, and I just crumbled. And it was at that point ayahuasca came on my path as well. It was the Netherlands where I went to drink it for the first time. That's why I love your country so much. But I could speak all day about ayahuasca. We've not got the time. I've had 7 ceremonies over, drank it. I've been on a long journey with it over a 4-year period. But what I will say, it's the single best thing that I've ever done for myself. Yeah, so we're talking about ayahuasca. And it's hard, you could talk all day about it, but I'll sum up a few key points about it. Number one, it's been the single most important thing or gift that I've ever given myself. And the shamans who traditionally work with the medicine in the Amazon jungle, they tell you that our problems that we have today are rooted in childhood trauma. And these traumas are stored in our subconscious mind. And as adults, we can't access them because they're long forgotten. But what ayahuasca does is it takes you back to childhood, and it shows you what happened then, and it shows you, it allows you to process those emotional wounds that you've carried all your life that have led to unhelpful behaviours. And for me, my main theme was relationships breaking down all the time. I'd be in one relationship, it would end in hurt, another one, and they just didn't seem to go right. I went to the medicine with the intention of finding out why these relationships with all of these girls didn't work out, expecting that I would be shown what I did wrong to them. I didn't treat her right, I didn't do this right. And what the medicine did was it showed me the broken relationship I had with myself from childhood. So what often happens is stuff happens in childhood, and as children, if something goes wrong, we think something's wrong with us. Ayahuasca showed me that my broken self-image, and then the one thing that people don't really talk about and the mass media don't talk about, what the mass media talk about is these psychedelic, crazy trips. What ayahuasca is all about at a core level is just love. It just fills us all up with love, and it shows you how to love yourself, love other people, and have compassion for other people and yourself, and it ultimately makes you a better person. And that's why I went back to it repeatedly over a 4-year period, because there was layers of stuff to work through. But thanks to ayahuasca, I've completely transformed my life, and I feel that it's been part of my journey to help other people understand what's a root cause of their issues and help them heal themselves and become the best versions of themselves.
Wow, thanks so much. I never had this expensive explanation about ayahuasca as you just shared, but also the depth of the troubles that you've been able to heal as well with it, or, you know, discover from deep childhood memories that might have been repressed or for some reason were lost for a while. And
there's two final things to mention when it comes to this, which is, number one, it won't be for everybody. So if you're looking for an alternative where you feel like you're not feeling the pull towards the plant medicines, there is a fantastic book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown. It's 10 weeks and it's very gentle morning and evening breathing and teachings that you tell yourself over the course of that 10 weeks. And it's an amazingly powerful way of accessing the emotional body, and allowing some of the emotional charge that you're holding on to that's directing the unhelpful behaviours, allowing that to come up to be processed. It's an amazing book. It's 5 stars, thousands of ratings on Amazon. Super accessible to any person, no matter what age they are, no matter where they are in their life, no matter how emotionally mature they might think they are. Try the process. Very, very challenging, but very easy to do, but very challenging as well.
Yeah, we can send you a link to it after this so people can see it. It's called The Presence Process.
Yeah. And the final thing I want to say just about ayahuasca and these traditional medicines is that don't forget about the indigenous people who support the making the medicines and looking after the rainforest. Often in the Western world we just think about what we can get from a tool like ayahuasca, but what we need to think about is also what can we give in return. What can we do to support these communities who are in the jungle preserving these amazing plants and medicines? And don't forget about these amazing people. Find ways of being able to support their cause, to give them a voice, because it's so needed. Here in Scotland, people have forgotten about their own traditions with these medicines, because we did have it. It's been long forgotten, part of the Celtic tradition here with mushrooms and stuff, but that's all been forgotten now. But there are still communities in the world where these medicines are sacred, and that's what I would say. Treat them as sacred, and treat the people who are the stewards of creating these medicines, treat them with that sacredness as well. So that's what I would say.
Yes, thank you so much for pointing that out, because it is something so sacred, and what we can do, everybody listening today, or feeling attracted to these alternative methods, and are willing to try, or willing to find out if it would be something to help you on your journey. It might be so powerful to be able to help these indigenous people or tribes share their knowledge and share their stories, because I think a lot more people on this earth should know about it. So it would be amazing if anybody feeling attracted to it could help out in that sense, and keeping this sacred knowledge amongst us human beings. Then to kind of dive a bit towards the end, I believe you would wanted to share one more. I think one more.
One more very practical thing which will support your mental health is around mind and nutrition, and I think that's twofold. I think the most important thing I would say is about, you need to guard your energy. Imagine that just in the same way that nourishing your body with good food is important, or nourishing your mind with the right content, the right conversations, the right thoughts. Be mindful and guard what you are taking in. Marc will talk a little bit about some of those influencers and books and all that stuff. The one thing I will say on this is the people you surround yourself with. If you are on a journey of self-development, if you're on a journey of awakening, you need to be around like-minded people. Regardless of the deep bonds you might have with the others through shared history, but you need to have the right people around you that can support you on your journey, to help nurture what's coming into your field of consciousness.
Yeah. This is quite straightforward. There's nothing fancy about what we're saying here, but I suppose there's two main elements I would describe this with, and it's one, protect and nourish. And protect, just like Alan's been talking about, it's basically protecting your mind from all of the negative nonsense that's out there. I mean, I for a long time worked in national media. That was my previous job, where it's death, viruses, destruction. That's all we're hearing, and that carries with it a negative energy. It's low energy stuff. And people don't realise when they turn on the news in the morning, or they're listening to the radio news, all of that's going into their subconscious mind. It's been pulled in and it's programming them, and it's literally creating negative feelings in their body and getting them in a low state of vibration. And when you're in a low state of vibration, you can't attract anything good into your life. Secondly, nourish. The nourish part is what you're putting into your mind in place of stuff like that. So you can do simple things like, instead of switching on the news, put on a positive video on YouTube, listen to an educational podcast, some stuff that literally makes you feel good. Judge the value of the content by how it makes you feel. Be more in tune with your feelings. And I suppose there's not much more to say. It's that simple. Protect yourself from the negative stuff, and read the good books, watch the good, listen to the good podcasts, watch great YouTube videos, and listen to great influencers like you on Instagram, and life will be much better.
Thank you so much for sharing that as well, because it's so important to know how to kind of feed yourself with this positive information, if you could say it that way. So even though it like you just shared, it might be something simple, but it is so important.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing that. What I want to thank you for, and everybody watching today and hopping on in and out, even with us, with the live going down for a sec. Thank you so much for all the tools, the tricks, the tips, but also the honesty and the depth of both your stories. I'm so grateful for you sharing this, and for your mission in this world, because it got us here tonight. And I would love to kind of ask you where people could find you and what it is that they can work when they want to work with you, how they could do that. Would you elaborate on that a bit?
So that's an amazing question. It came just at a very timely moment because Mark and I are about to launch our online course, which is called Revolutionise You, because we're all about helping people take their lives to the next level, whatever that means to you at home. If you're feeling stuck, you feel like you could be doing better in your career, with your relationships, with your health, then this programme is for you. Or if you are already in a good place but you've got big goals and big ambitions and you're looking to optimise your health and self-development, then this programme is for you. So you will be able to work with us online. It's a mix of online content, online videos, along with Mark and I supporting along the way and facilitating. And we are also working on some really amazing stuff in the background, which we'll be releasing much more about, which will be much more intimate work we'll be doing with people here in Scotland. We really are all about helping people here in Scotland elevate themselves to the next level. There's no more time now for sitting around and not playing the game. We want everybody to get involved and really take charge of their health and their well-being and self-development. Yeah, it's been a really difficult past 18 months for everybody, but so now is the time where we feel everyone should be really fired up to really take charge of their lives, their health, their well-being, and we're all about helping people just take their lives to the next level. That's what the programme's about, and that's what this whole mission's about.
Could you maybe just share one more time what your website is and on what name people can find you?
Sure. So the website is www.you and then revolution.co.uk. We're also on Instagram, just YouRevolution and the number 2. And we have a YouTube channel as well if you just search for YouRevolution, and there's a full back catalogue of episodes on there. We've also got several documentaries, one on ayahuasca, one and others on various other alternative health practices, including the medical medium protocols. So there's lots of stuff in there if people want to educate themselves on holistic health and taking charge of their own health and well-being.
I love it. Thank you so much, both you, Ellen and Mark, for this evening and for taking your time out of the busy schedules that you're in. And is there any last word or any last empowering phrase that you'd like to end today's talk with?
When Mark and I are not confrontational people at all, but there's a very simple message I would say to anybody sitting at home right now. It's your health, it's your well-being, and it's your responsibility. So grab the bull by the horns and take charge and take yourself to the next level, because every single person, so much talent, so much ability that's just waiting to be unleashed in the world. So we want to help you do that. So please tune in, give us a shout if you are looking to connect or you want to know more about anything that we've spoken about tonight. We'd love to talk to you.